Hey everyone, welcome to the Go In. It's the inaugural show of the Go In with your boy DJ Sterl the Pearl. Today's host, our first host ever of this podcast coming out, is my main man, 50 grand, Mike Dorsey.
What's going on? Excited to be here on the Go In.
Hey, look here, man.
And who, listen, Go In, like that title, right? Like, who else could literally live up to that? But my man, Sterl the Pearl.
But that's why I got you, bro, because I know you goes in.
Man, that's how, listen here, man.
Talk
Life's
to
too
me.
short not to.
I'll say it again, baby.
Life's too short not to.
And that's why we got these long conversations on the Go In,
Man,
baby.
come on, we here.
First of all, Mike, tell everybody about what you do, how you came to Knoxville. I know you're not from here initially. I mean, my frat brother,
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Just so
Deuce
you-
Dog in the house.
Okay, do sci-fi. Long story. But tell us about yourself, man. Tell us what's going on about
Man,
you.
awesome, man. Yo, so my name is Mike Dorsey. A lot of people know me as Coach Mike D, right? So I'm a
Absolutely.
personal development, peak performance coach, a lot of communications consulting, but I'm originally from Augusta, Georgia. Born and raised, home of James Brown.
Hey,
Yeah.
not the people say he's the who of the vine.
Hey, look, sidebar, he used to come to my church sometime. So
Really?
I got a chance to actually meet him and hang out with him a little bit.
Phenomenal, awesome.
And it's fascinating because James Brown, a legend, right? I mean, the most sampled artist of all time, whatever, right? The thing that's interesting about it, growing up in Augusta, a lot of people took James Brown for granted. You might go to Applebee's and James Brown was at Applebee's. You go to the mall, James Brown's walking around the mall.
I get it.
And folks are just like, yo, that's just James Brown. It wasn't until he passed away, right?
Wow.
I think it was in 2006, and Michael Jackson came to town. Every artist in the world descended upon Augusta, Georgia, and it was like at that moment you started to realize, like, yo, this brother was a big deal.
A real big deal,
A real
brother.
big deal.
A real big deal. I mean, you think he was the title of James Brown, most known as the Godfather of Soul. But you think about it, he's actually the heartbeat of hip hop. I mean, his songs being sampled, brother, and the way the brothers flip those beats. I mean, there are a lot of producers
Yes.
and artists that made so much money off his music.
Come on, man.
And then, we flip on over to what the guys on West Coast did with Funkadelic and Parliament, you
Yes.
know, and what Dr. Dre did with them. I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm thankful. That's one thing about hip hop. And we're going to talk about this later, Mike.
Okay.
How hip hop rebirthed old music into the modern young person's ear and gave you that feel that's so good that you just had to just, whoa, made you
gotta come
shout.
with it.
Come on, man. And then it also get some of these older artists a helping hand to get some monies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
that
sir.
they didn't get on the original contract when the music was released.
And I think it's a genius way of looking at it because it's like taking a recipe and kind of flipping it a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
And like you see it now where like somebody who was an actor from way back in the day, they'll do like a kid show. So now they have a whole new whole new fan base because they're doing these kid shows and all of
Absolutely.
that. And so you talk to your kids, they're like, oh no, this is so-and-so from this. Like, no, y'all didn't know. And you make the connection and you're like, what they're doing is they're kind of flipping it a little bit. And hip hop, in all honesty, did that for a lot of the artists from the 60s and the 70s.
Yes.
It gave them this new audience, this new fan base, because now, especially with our phones, we can go research this stuff and realize like, okay, you didn't come up with that. That came from, this is what my mama was playing.
Right.
Now they got a whole new fan base.
And what's so beautiful about it, though, Coach Mike D. See, I gotta give him his name, Coach Mike D. Coach Mike D. You think about a guy like Ronald Isley.
Ooh, come on.
He's been making music since the 50s.
Come on, man.
And is still relevant and making great music today.
Come on, man.
You see what I'm saying?
on, man.
His music's been sampled. He's been featured. And, Mr. Big is somebody.
I love it.
We got grandmothers and grandkids listening to the same artists.
music.
And that's what I love about the art form of hip hop because it brings everybody together unless you appreciate the greatness of the arts.
Come on, man. Come on, man. And it's interesting how bringing together, how that kind of comes full circle because it started talking about James Brown and me mentioning that I'm from Augusta, Georgia, right? So it's just interesting how this whole notion of connection, and obviously you are DJ Sterl the Pearl from a internationally acclaimed DJ all over the world. I mean, listen, this brother's tapped in and connected all across the board, and it's not just music, it's sports, it's speaking, it's finance, it's whatever. This whole renaissance thing that you bring to the table, it's interesting how we use hip hop as this bridge, but then we start to look at our own lives and how we've taken a page out of that to incorporate into how we operate so that we can bridge that connection and have generational impact.
And that's what it is, generational impact, because the information that we used to have to, go through the Dewey Decimal System and go to the library and find it, then go to the librarian and figure what aisle of the book is in, then get up on the ladder, climb to the sixth shelf, and then look for the book. Then the book is misplaced, so it's not there. So you gotta go back down the ladder, back to the librarian, ask her where the book is, and she realized it's not put back in the stacks yet. Here it is behind the desk. Then you take the book, and then this is not the book I'm looking for. So you got to go through all that to get information. Now you got people talking about real things in music.
Come on, man.
You got messages being given to you that everyone can digest. Whether you're 5 or 95, you have a frequency of music and lyrics and messages being coming to you that you can actually understand.
Come on, man.
And if you don't know it, you can Google it.
Come on, man.
Right there. So instead of spending 45 minutes trying to find the right book and the right page and the right paragraph to get the information that you came all the way to the library and walked 30 minutes to get, you can spend a nanosecond, say, my smartphone makes me smart too. Let me have this answer to this. You follow what I'm saying?
It's there.
And then you'll listen to a song, and that whole point is brought to life. And that's why I'm thankful I was able to get you on my first podcast, brother. It's just a pleasure to have you here. It's a blessing to know you as a friend and a brother. Coach Mike D. All the way from Athens, Georgia.
Augusta. No,
Athens.
Augusta.
Athens.
Listen here. Hold on. Now we're in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Athens.
Listen, we're in Knoxville, Tennessee. Athens is fighting words.
Hey, that's why I'm going in right now.
I got you
I'm going in right now. I'm going in right now. What's wrong with Athens?
Listen, so it's funny you say that.
Go.
And it's funny you mentioned that. I said I'm from Augusta, Georgia. But before Augusta, Georgia, and me getting to Knoxville, Tennessee, I had a stint in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
At a place called Georgia Institute of Technology. The last line of our fight song says, "To hell with Georgia." So there's a big issue with Athens. So it's so interesting that you made that connection. And I'm going to be honest, when I moved to Knoxville, that was kind of an alliance that I had with the Tennessee fans. We both hate UGA. See, being from Augusta, Georgia, being from the state of Georgia, everybody grows up just loving UGA.
Absolutely.
But if you you have to have some connection to Georgia Tech to be a fan of Georgia Tech. I went to Georgia Tech. So therefore, again, the last line of my fight song, "To hell with Georgia." That's it. That's it.
Not to hell. Don't set them on fire.
Listen. If you meet somebody from Georgia Tech that went to Georgia Tech, that graduated from Georgia Tech, go and ask them, what's the good word? You know what they're going to tell you? To hell with Georgia. So that's my issue with Athens.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I'm glad they're going to tickle your fancy
Yeah,
with that.
man. You said it's the go-in, right?
That's why I'm saying we going in. I need to know what the deal was with Athens and Augusta.
Yes,
I got a lot of friends from Augusta myself, so it's love is love. I had to mess you on that.
Bro.
Love is love. So talk to me more about your coaching business, brother.
Yeah, man. So I do personal development and peak performance coaching, man. Honestly, it's interesting. So professionally, sales has been my thing, right? I was in the pharmaceutical industry. I did home health care sales, physician recruiting, consumer goods sales, all of that. That was my professional history and my degrees in economics. But what was interesting, after getting out of the whole professional realm of things, I was starting to take inventory of like all the skills, talents, and gifts that I've been blessed with, right?
Amen.
And you start to understand that everything happens in life for a reason, and all of these experiences are not necessarily for you, but for then give somebody else some tools so that they can then make their life better, right?
Facts.
And so as you start to do the self-development on your end, you start to realize that I have a gift and a talent that could be utilized in a greater skill, right? Or in a greater scheme of things, right? And so that's when I started to understand that my natural wiring is as a coach, right? So historically speaking, I've always been somebody that's been decent, but never the best, right? And I have this concept, and I have it in my latest book. Hall of Fame players are rarely Hall of Fame coaches, right? Because they're wired differently. I've never been the Hall of Fame player, but Hall of Fame players are gifted at the task at hand. Hall of Fame coaches are gifted at pulling that thing out of the Hall of Fame players.
Absolutely.
And so to your point, being an athlete, and you're paying attention to it. Very rarely do you see a Hall of Fame coach that was also a Hall of Fame player. You look at the top coaches of all time. You look at the Pat Rileys and the Phil Jacksons and all of that. Yes, they played at the highest level, but they're not considered the best of the best players.
Right.
On the flip side, you look at the top players, the Jordans, the Kobes, the Magics, or whatever.
Yeah.
Rarely do they translate in or transition into being Hall of Fame coaches because they're wired differently, right? I've come to realize my gifting, my talent, my skill is literally gifted in the era of being a Hall of Fame coach, meaning I'm able to pull things out of people and able to take them from one place to another. So that being said, I use that skill, I use that talent, and I use these experiences to then pour into others and help pull things out of them that they didn't even realize were possible. And so when it comes to professional development, when it comes to, the executive landscape, when it comes to people working through challenges and issues, I'm able to look at things through a different lens, but then pour into them and pull things out that they didn't even realize were there.
Well, of course, your life experiences help you do that to people.
100%.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me more about things that you've been through that you believe are actually impactful in your own personal life to help you coach others.
Oh, my goodness. So everything in life happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times when we go through something in life, we think it's for us. But the aha moment will come when you start to realize that this thing is not for me. It's for that person that's coming behind me. We learned something years ago called the bridge builder.
Absolutely.
Right? You're building this bridge not for yourself, but that one that's coming behind you, right? So for me, when I think about growing up, so I'm from Augusta, Georgia, came from a great family. Education was key, consistency was key, but I also grew up in a situation in which we experienced addiction in my family, right?
Okay.
And one of the challenges that I faced growing up was learning how to separate the issue from the person. And so from a personal growth perspective, growing up, and my father and I, we...
Well, let's pause right there.
Okay.
Help me expand on that, separating the issue from the person. Expand on that, because it's amazing how sometimes people get connected to things that they shouldn't be connected to, and then that issue becomes something you can't solve because it's past the problem-solving stage. So, when a problem happens, is you can solve it. A calculator can help you. Issues a little bit different. So you said separate the person from the issue. Talk about how you might help a person through that situation.
So separating a person from the issue, the thing is you have to first start with empathy and understanding that we're all human and we're all imperfect, right? Okay. A lot of what separates a person that's gotten felonies and been locked up from a person who doesn't have any of those was the fact that this person made a left turn on the road and that one made a right turn, and it wasn't a traffic stop down there, right? Because a lot of times, if we're really honest about it, we've done a lot of the same things that some of those that have gotten in trouble for doing were doing as well. They just happen to get caught, right? Fact. So when you start to understand this whole notion of, I'm really no better than you, right? I can make decisions, or I can make situations or make circumstances happen in the same way you did if I was presented with those same variables. It starts to humanize an individual, and then you start to realize that it's not necessarily the person, it's the situation or the circumstance. And so that being said, if you go back and you look at things that have happened to individuals, and you basically take yourself and put yourself in that same environment, you might come to realize that you may react the same way, right? And so I was kind of telling a little bit about my story growing up kind of with my father. So my father and I, great relationship now and everything, but one of the things that growing up, he struggled with addiction. He struggled with the disease of addiction. And so for me, I always had issues with him, right? Until I got older and I grew up and I started doing this personal development and growth process myself. And I started to really understand what his story was. And when I started to understand the trauma that he dealt with as a kid, at 8 years old, he lost one of his younger brothers, right? Wow. It just tragically. He ended up drowning, and, they were in Germany when my grandfather was deployed. They were walking home from Boy Scout meeting, and my father's younger brother drowned, right? And this was the 1960s. There was no therapy for that. So It was like, hey, we got to go back home and figure things out and keep it moving. 3 years later, he had a brother that also ended up passing away, but this one was sick. They didn't really know how sick he was. The kids didn't. He ended up passing away. My father and him actually shared a bed at the time. They went to sleep. My father woke up. He didn't, right? That was 3 years after losing another brother. And so when you start to understand the trauma that was dealt with there, and you didn't have the things in place from the therapy perspective and working through that issue, it was just kind of like, hey, you got to dry them tears and move on. We got other things to do. then you're just like, this is what's being harbored as an 8-year-old and then later as an 11-year-old. So then as you grow up and you don't have these tools in place, you're like, yo, I got this stuff that I got to deal with, right? So I might go down a different pathway to deal with it. And so when I started to understand his story and the trauma there, it helped me to understand that if I was faced with those same situations at that stage of life, I may start making decisions like that as well as I got older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it started to humanize, and I started to no longer be pissed off at him, and I started to be pissed off at the situations that led to the decisions that were made, but it made sense, and it gave me empathy. So going back to this notion of, and you asked the question of how do you separate the person from the issue,
yeah, absolutely.
It starts with empathy, right? Because once you start understanding their story and you start to realize that this ain't a bad person, they just maybe got dealt a bad deck of cards, right? They got dealt a bad hand, and they just made some decisions, and it's not them, because when you start to realize that we're all capable of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the part that kind of helped me to understand that I can separate the person from the issue and get to the root of who that person is, and then we can start building versus going to the notion of this person is just horrible and throwing them away.
You know, it's amazing you gave me that story, and I appreciate you giving me that story, my friend. But, you know, how people will prejudge a person and act like they understand what's happening when they have no idea what brought anyone to a particular point on any topic or issue, like you said. If in separating a person from the issue, that's an amazing technique right there, brother.
It's hard though, and
it's not easy,
and it takes a lot of work, man. It takes a lot of work because you have to put yourself in a position in which you're willing to and you want to do that yourself. It's like, I want to get better, and I can't get better if I'm holding on to a lot of this junk. See, a lot of people, we walk around with anchors attached to us, and things are holding us back and they're dragging us, and you can't fully be to live the life of the full capacity that you're capable of because you got all this stuff holding you back. And a lot of this stuff that's holding you back, you just haven't taken time to really work through it. And we have to go through that deep work of working through our challenges, working through our issues, so that we can finally be free and live the life that we're supposed to live. Because we're being held back, man.
And you know, it's amazing. You said that the first challenge to help you get through that situation is getting some empathy to a situation.
You have to have that. You have to.
And humbling yourself.
Yes.
You know, it's amazing though. You know, as men, you know, we have such pride, and we're prideful, and we're both, you know, probably A-type guys, and we have those friends that we have in common ourselves that you know, sometimes are less empathetic to a situation. But if you do become empathetic to something, you can probably see it clearer.
Come on, man.
I mean, you get a chance to see things, you know, and I'm not saying see it with glasses or microphone what am I looking for?
Yeah, microscope or
microscope
something.
or a telescope even, you know what I'm saying? But magnifying glass. But you know, what I'm thinking is from the inside, brother. I mean, because it all starts because empathy is something that you have to, you know, you have to learn, and the sooner you learn it, the better off you're able to, you know, able to conquer different problems or issues that might come before you. Because, you know, none of us are perfect.
Come on.
I mean, it's not even a rumor of Sterl and Hen or Sterl the Pearl being perfect. You know, I don't judge anyone. I'm a Christian, but you know, however you do, it's not even a rumor about me being perfect. You know, if you don't believe that Jesus Christ was perfect on earth, I don't judge you for that. But when you bring your issues to people and blame them for what you're going through, and not empathetic to yourself, even.
Ooh, you got to give yourself grace. Come on, brother.
You got to give yourself grace. You got, you know, and I didn't want to get all religious here,
you
know, but you know, you touch. That's what we're
going in. Yeah.
You touch me with that point, separating the person from the issue, because they're both independent. And then, like, you got to bring it. You got to bring it to you. And if you're trying to solve it, it's still separated from you. If you're bringing it to you, and we all got to climb uphill. You know, going up a hill takes a little more effort than going downhill, or even running flat. So if you're going uphill with a whole bunch of issues on your back, as you illustrated, that's more weight. And even in your car, if you're driving up a hill in your car and you got more people in your car, you hit the engine, go. And you hear, you see weight limits on trucks, what they're supposed to carry, and things of that nature. And the truck engines, although they're running on diesel fluid, they tend to break down more because they're carrying tons, hundreds and thousands of miles every day. So if you put yourself in a perspective where these issues are weight on me, as you illustrated.
Come on. It's real. It's real. And I'm gonna throw something. There's weight that we're all carrying.
Absolutely.
But there's also a situation that it's never too late to cut that weight. Ooh. And so, and because I'll even continue the story is, that was something, that was a struggle that my father had, growing up, or what that we had or experienced with my father as we were growing up. But it's never too late to change because he's changed, right? Wow. He's improved. He's gotten, his things have flipped. You know what I'm saying? And
made a turn.
That's right, man. He's an amazing grandfather. He and I talk almost every day. I mean, he's an amazing husband to my mom. I mean, just like I said, it's never too late. And so to your point, it's like empathy helps you, but possibly, I don't know, maybe showing that empathy might do something in that person, and they can realize that maybe I'm worthy of change. Maybe I'm worthy of growth. Maybe I'm worthy of all of that. And you don't know, right? That's why we just have to extend that grace. Because again, you never know when you're going to need grace as well.
Absolutely.
And so it's just like, how can I expect others to show me grace if I can't show that grace to somebody else? And so you just shared something about your experience with your dad.
Oh yeah, man.
Share that again,
man. Well, my father, he had, how can I say it? He did what he had to do. Mm-hmm. So he left me, my mother, and my sister when I was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And when I was on my way to kindergarten, I was in the afternoon shift. And he had a little too much of the nightlife the night before. And arguing with mom a little bit and got into all that. So that's the last time I saw him actually living in my house. So I used to call him all the time. Excuse me, my throat is like messed up.
It's all good.
Got a little, but so he always wanted him to come get me. Mm-hmm. So I was a big time bowler back then, and so I just wanted him to come get me, and so he'd never show. I come home from school, and if I didn't go to school, and when I take that back, so I would normally go after school to the boys club, and then they'd have a van bring us home at night. So when I didn't go to the boys club, I'd go home, wait for my father to come get me, and he just never showed. So the one time he came to get me, I'm maybe gonna go bowling. I got my bowling ball ready to do the deal. We ended up going to OTB. I thought it was QTB, so I ain't know. I'm go over to New York. I was always scared of the George Washington Bridge back then. So he would go over to George Washington Bridge, trying to get me to not be scared of bridges anymore. Then come back through the Lincoln Tunnel. And then while I lived in New Jersey, it's like 15 minutes from downtown New York. And so we went to QTB. So my mother said, Sterl, what did you and your father do? Went to QTB. Okay. So then about a year passes and I realize he's not coming to get me. Then I guess he came and got me one time and went bowling. Finally went bowling. I was a big time bowler back then. And dropped me off at home. And my mother said, did you go to QTB? I said, no, we didn't go. So now QTB has commercials on TV. I said, Ma, that's where we went. That's OTB. It's off-track betting.
Oh, wow.
And my mother was kind of upset about that. As you can imagine, I was taking a 6-year-old boy over places like that. And back then, it was, get it in, get it in, a little different climate. But, he didn't, he did what he did, but, we just didn't go bowling. So, I tell people, now I don't judge my father, my sister feels a different kind of way, but he did what he had to do. And and I just didn't want to be that dude. I didn't want to be that dude thinking I'm leaving my kid hanging. And but that's what happened, when I was young. And so you're talking about taking the person from the issue. Now I know what his issue was.
That's right.
He had a little, he had to get a little taste a little bit too much, and my mother still believes that's the reason why I don't drink now.
It's real.
Yeah,
that's real.
And so but he's alive. He's still an older man. He's alive, and I don't judge them. You know what I'm saying? I'll be fair to them, but I'm not one that the issues that I've probably developed or from that is that I just don't want to let anybody down like that because I remember how bad I felt. But
hold on. You know what's so interesting about that? Just as you're talking, anybody who's ever experienced you DJing, right? It's literally like, I mean, you're a light, right? And do you ever think that, because you just said after that, I never wanted to let anybody down. Yeah. Did you always feel like from that point forward, you had to be the life of the party, the life of the event, and maybe subconsciously it was because I know what it feels like to be let down. I don't want anybody in my presence to ever feel like they've been let down. Maybe,
because like I tell everybody, I never played a game, football, basketball, I ever lost. Mm-hmm. Just ran out of time. Mm-hmm. I'm not undefeated. Mm-hmm. I always looked at, one thing learning and losing have in common. They both got to start with the letter L. Mm-hmm. Which one you going to be, a learner or a loser? Mm. I was a learner. Mm. I'm not into losing. Mm-hmm. No, that's not an option. I'm not into that.
But what's even deeper than that to me is you're not into losing, but you don't want anybody in your presence to feel like they're losing either.
Absolutely not.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like the whole notion of like the energy that you bring, it's like you bring the hype to Neyland Stadium. You bring the hype to the basketball arena. You bring the hype to any party that you're with. You bring the hype to any event that you're speaking at. And it's interesting. Sometimes we don't even realize the seeds that were planted for this thing to grow was something that I didn't even think about. And that's what I'm saying. Like
I didn't think about that.
It's interesting. Like because you just said,
wow.
I know what it feels like to be let down. And I'm just like, I don't think I've ever been in your presence. Like, it's funny. People talk about DJ Sterl the Pearl. If you don't see him, you gonna hear him. Like, you could be in this crowded room, 1,000 people, and you just, yo!
With the dilly, baby!
He in the corner somewhere. I might not see him, but I hear him. But the thing is, there's something about that that's infectious, and that lifts the room. That lifts the energy in the room. And I think it's interesting just to hear that because it's so much, and this is why I encourage everybody to just go through your story. Right? Go through your story. And even like little nuances that we forgot about. You're like, oh, dang, I forgot about this.
No, I didn't even think about that. You just made me think about it, brother. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about it. It's like, maybe, because, when people trust me to do something, I want to make sure I perform farther than what they expect. Mm. So that's the big thing. Even when I go to UT and I'm blessed with that opportunity, I can't let them down, man, because they trust me. Mm. That's a big deal, brother.
They trust you, but more importantly, you know what it feels like to be let down, and you'll never allow that to happen.
Oh no! And if I do, you better believe I'm swinging.
Come on, man.
Like I said, hey,
you gave it.
You gonna get all I got. Mm-hmm. I probably can't run a 4 or 5 anymore, but I tell fast those boys all over there, they're not gonna beat me going 50%. Mm-hmm. You ain't beat me jogging. You forget that, dog. No sir. Now you might beat me going full speed. You start jogging, cancel Christmas. It's done deal.
I got you.
So I'm going. My whole thing is, I'm not going. Even when I play ball, I'm not gonna cut myself. You got to cut me. I'm not going to beat myself. You got to beat me. Now, I don't care who it is I'm playing against.
And what's the title?
Go in, baby.
What's the title? DJ Sterl the Pearl?
Yeah, Sterl the Pearl's go in, baby. You be going in. Hey, look here. You don't know. You can't figure it out till you go in.
Come on, man. Ooh.
You can't figure it out till you go in, brother.
You can't figure it out.
You can't figure it out till you go in. Period. You can act like you know. You can fake it. But you know you don't know.
Come on.
If you go in, you got a chance to figure it out.
At least you can see what it's all about.
Hey. Come on, man. Hey.
Dig it. Oh, man.
There it is.
That was good stuff. I think that was needed, man.
Yeah, man.
That's something y'all can you can use.
Play with that. Yeah, that's a real. That's a real if it ain't nothing else. Because, bro, it's like, what's crazy is, even when I've been told I should do a podcast, we talked about this 5 years ago, dog, at the frat house. I'm like, man, but now, like I said, it ain't no better time than now, brother. Cause like, shoot, I got stories, dog.
No, and it's time to capture everything, and it's time to basically cement that out there so that other people can witness it. Because the thing is, it's just like it's like your grandmama with these recipes, right?
Woo!
And folks don't have the wherewithal to go and write the recipes down. They're like, damn, I wish I could have that pound cake. Man, y'all should have sat down with grandmama. What goes in this?
Exactly.
Right?
Hold the time out.
Mm-hmm.
What goes in this?
Mm-hmm.
Can't figure it out unless you go in.
Ooh.
See, that's
the bar.
That's what, and that's why I titled this whole thing to go in, because we trying to figure things out. I'm not trying to sit and talk about stuff people expect me to talk about, records and and sports. We'll dabble, do it, but I want to try to unravel some situations that people are skirting over, so we can figure something out.
And your goal is, and this is interesting. You want to help people to not feel let down in situations. Now you want to help people go in for themselves.
Absolutely.
So these are all seeds that are getting planted for individuals to go in their own life.
Yeah, right? Man.
Because at the end of the day, you want people's lives to change. And it will change based off of this conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something in this conversation that's going to help some lives generationally change, right?
And know what I like about the conversation we having? It's so, as a matter of fact.
That's right. And it's organic and as a matter of fact.
Exactly. You can't act like you ain't heard what you just heard.
Come on. And it's not curated and it's not scripted.
No, ain't no scripts here, baby.
No scripts, no curation.
No.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Big facts.
Yes, sir.
For the big deuce dogs. The big deuce dogs.
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just like I give a shout out because I'm proud of them. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
I'm proud of them too.
That growth and development.
And I'm just getting introduced to them. I'm proud of them myself.
That's
man.
right, man. And so it's just like it's never too late. Right? It's never too late to make a change. If you're still here, you have the option and the opportunity to make a change, no matter what it is.
You got choices.
That's right.
You got a choice.
choices.
Absolutely.
Right.
You got a choice. Wow, that was heavy, brother.
Yeah.
That was a go in right there. That was a go in right there. I want to shift the needle, if you will.
Okay.
Let's talk about some athletics.
Let's do it.
Athletics. Now, we all are associated with athletics in our own particular way.
Absolutely.
And now a time has come where the college athletes are getting paid.
I love it.
They're getting paid.
I love it.
You got billions of dollars being generated on these athletes. And now they finally getting a little slice of the pizza.
I love it.
Some are getting more than others.
No, now that's a challenge.
So that's a challenge. The other challenge that I see coming up is the ones you have some that are getting money on potential than performance. Okay, and it's similar. It was a issue. People separated from the issue that the NFL had back, in the 20, 30 years ago, when a lot of rookies were coming into the league, and the NBA also making more than veterans and proven veterans, but there was potential and so on and so forth. They have since, smoothed that out a little bit.
That's with the salaries, not with their endorsements.
Well, but that's a decision.
That's
a totally different thing.
Okay.
The NFL can control that.
Okay.
The leagues, I wish they could, but they can't. That's a company decision.
Absolutely.
But now you have that same situation happening at the collegiate level.
Big time.
And they saying it's going to go down to the high school level soon, if it's not already.
In some states, it's already legal for high school. Actually, I believe they just passed that, if I'm not mistaken, in Tennessee, where you're able to, I know Georgia, California, it's a few states in which in high school you can get NIL deals before you get to college. So yeah, it's real.
Talk to me as a coach, Coach Mike D. How do you navigate that water from the non-alleged, from the amateur, not alleged, I'll recant that statement and scratch that from the minutes. From the amateur level, how do you navigate that in amateur sports?
So it's interesting, and this is it's like if you pan out a little bit, and you realize that the United States represents 5% of the world's population, right?
Right.
5% of the world's population. Now, it's dominant as it pertains to economy and making money, and this is the number one destination for most industries when it comes to trying to sell things because of the resources and everything. But the United States represents 5% of the world's population, okay? That means 95% live outside of the United States,
Correct.
Okay? Where else in the world currently do you have collections of people sitting around watching amateur sports outside of the United States?
There's some other players. I mean, they do it in Canada.
Outside of North America, where else?
Oh, North America. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
And so the thing is, in my opinion, the NCAA has actually been an anomaly on the global scale, because if you go to Europe, you go to South America, you go to the Caribbean, you go to parts of Africa and Asia, folks are pro athletes by the time they're teenagers. And so, whereas in the United States, the NCAA has had this kind of monopoly here where it's like, all right, y'all can't make money, but had I been a soccer player in Europe, I'd have been pro since I was 12. Or had I been a baseball player in the Dominican, I'd have been getting paid since I was 9. If you stop and think about it. So this has been something, in my opinion, in which is finally catching up with 95% of the world's population. Because think about it. Where else in the world do you have high-level athletics in which the folks are or the athletes are not professional?
Well, they'll tell you when we give you a scholarship.
Outside of the North America, United States, where else? You don't have the University of Oxford playing the University of London School of Economics and soccer and 50,000 people come and watch them play. No,
Okay.
It don't happen that way. So for me, I look at it like this was something that was, they were trying to hold on, and you know they had the little issue with the NIL stuff, and UT actually recently, and that's a big, you know, kerfuffle, so to speak.
Well, that thing is going to be interesting, and I'm blessed that we have the leaders that we have at the University of Tennessee
100%.
to put that thing on in the place where it should be. We got some very intelligent, very powerful, and very worthy leaders at the University of Tennessee that's going to handle that situation. But you brought up a good point, because there's so many countries that you think about, where are their amateur athletics?
Where are that? And that's the part. So you have AAU and NCAA, and that's been in Canada, but people forget the population. There's more people that live in California than live in the whole country of Canada. So you have to think Canada is only like 35 million people, something like that. So if you really look at it,
it's cold too, man. It's cold.
Man, the best weather in Canada is the worst weather in the United States.
When it comes to temperature,
I mean, no
exactly.
knock. I mean, Toronto's dope, Montreal's dope, there, whatever. But
Vancouver, awesome.
But after about September, y'all can have it. You know? I'm a tropical people, you dig?
Boom.
But so it's interesting. So with the whole NIL thing, I actually like the fact that they're able to capitalize on their likeness. They're able to capitalize and generate revenue. If you think about this, if a kid in college starts a business, right, and they can go make millions of dollars with their business that they start in college, why can't this athlete who's got millions of followers on social media, who, millions of dollars are made because they're coming to the stadium because they want to see this one, right?
Yeah.
Why should they not be able to capitalize on, what they bring to the table from a market value perspective?
Well, and I've always been in favor of it. I'm just hoping that they can actually fix it fast, because it's not going away.
It's the Wild Wild West, dude.
Right?
It's the Wild Wild
and
West.
my thing is, I think what happened when it first jumped out, that they tried to correct hundreds of years of, not doing the right thing, to microwaving it to doing the right thing these past couple years.
Hold on, I'm gonna throw something. So I think there were two factors in NCAA sports that came together at the same time that really threw a monkey wrench, right?
Go.
The portal and NIL. So if you think about it, so now if you had NIL, right, but the old restrictions were still in place where you had to sit out a year and all of that, it would be a little bit different. But the portal, I don't know which one came first. I think the portal came before the NIL stuff came. Okay. So with the portal, you can basically say like, now this is where I think what you're talking about becomes a challenge, because year on is kind of like the college scholarships, a year to year. People don't realize that, right? And so the same thing with a lot of NIL deals, people don't realize are year to year, right? So it's like, okay, you might have signed this big one for us to get you on campus, but you got to campus and you ain't performing. So now this one goes from this amount to this amount. So now you're like, hold up, I came for this. Now I'm getting this. The portal's open. Let me go jump in the portal and see if somebody's going to put me back up here somewhere else in the country.
Correct.
So to me, that's the challenge, is that and that together. And they've not come to some type of, happy medium yet.
Yeah, because that's causing the eruption in the amateur lane. But I gotta tell you, I'm one of the former athletes that you always hope to get paid. So I'm glad they got it happening. But
Absolutely.
I'm even happier about the portal.
I do too. See, I like it.
Yeah,
See,
I'm happier about that.
And I think the challenge is change is always messy, right?
It's-
Change is messy
and painful.
It's painful.
Yeah.
It's messy, and we're in this period of rapid, robust change. And so I think 5 years from now, it's gonna settle out, right?
Yeah.
It'll all settle out.
Yeah.
But right now, we're just in the midst of that, and you got these two things that are working together, and they make it a very challenging circumstance.
Challenging. Let me tell you something, brother. It's something like I said, change creates pain, but change is inevitable. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now this is where I am really so much for the portal, and this is why. This is why. During the recruiting process, normally you're falling in love with that guy that recruited you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a high probability that it wasn't the head coach that you spend most of your time on the phone with. Okay. And hopefully the position coach was able to be the one that recruited you.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times that didn't happen. So what actually brings these athletes to these schools is not the head coach or the tradition that the fans love. It's not the academic standard that's set and all the allegedly resources that are available to you, because now schools have made the resources available on the as part of standard operating procedure. It's that coach that recruited you. It's that coach that recruited you. And what's been happening with the fans of every school across this country, in college, and whether it's Division 1A or Power 5 or Division 2, the coach that recruited you if he becomes a sought after coach and goes somewhere else, he can leave.
But the kids used to be stuck.
The kids are stuck. And be clear, not every player, if there is one, I haven't heard of it yet, but even the greatest player at every school cannot sit there and say that every school in the country offered him a scholarship or her a scholarship. So somebody didn't like you coming out of high school.
Real talk.
Now, so the guy that you chose to go with leaves. And that's the position coach or the guy that recruited you. Someone that most fans be like, well, we lost a position coach. We still got our head coach who, you love.
He was responsible for those.
Responsible for that player coming.
Absolutely.
And then they replaced that coach with another coach who didn't stand up for you in them closed doors to offer you a scholarship at the school they came from. Then he recruits another person that he likes better than you.
Come on.
Now you never see the field again. Now let's say that person that he recruits that's better than you turns out to be a first-round draft choice, football, basketball, next Coco golf and tennis. Just a great athlete, great performer. Everyone forgets about that guy.
Come on.
And then it gets even more special, more interesting. Then let's say your head coach gets fired. There was a time when the fans stood there, he need to get fired, blah, 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 and the new guy comes in, he needs to get rid of everybody on the team.
Wow.
But now, because of the portal,
the whole team can leave. We saw what happened with a very famous situation.
That situation.
Come on.
And now, you get fans saying, which is, I guess, because they love the institution, they love the school. Well, they never liked it here anyway. We should have never recruited them. They're not all this, not all that, this, that, and the third. Wait a minute, time out. There are hundreds of athletes and thousands in amateur sports, especially collegiate sports, that have been swept under the rug.
Come on, man.
Because coaches have left and other coaches have come in. The success of the institution stayed, but that actual athletes' dreams have been diminished. And I got to tell you, I've seen it, and now what I'm seeing and hearing recent Athletic Times. I'm watching the mood of the fan change personally to athletes. Personally
I see it.
to athletes.
I see it.
Judging the athlete because he made a decision
It's best for him.
was best for him.
Dude, so it's interesting. We briefly mentioned
Or her.
her. You know,
exactly.
Yeah, Title IX, all that. The thing that's interesting, we talked about change and how change is messy, right? Most people are very resistant and reluctant to change, right? You have to force people to change. Like, people don't naturally want to change. What's that old adage? If it ain't broke,
Don't fix it.
right? That's how most people are wired, right?
Even if it is broke.
Even if it is broke,
Right.
we're like, man, can I still get by with it?
It's human to be a creature of habit.
That's right.
Creature of habit.
So, and I use an example. We can use a sports analogy. You remember when Tiger Woods was at the top of his game? Like,
Yes.
I think either he had just won the Tiger Slam or whatever, and he went and broke down his swing and changed his whole swing up. And he went, so he
Remember
was
that.
already at the top. Most people are like, oh, he's stupid. Why is he changing? Why is he changing? So he drops a little bit to do this. Because he
Absolutely.
recognized that changing helps me to go from not just the great to possibly move to the greatest.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And so, but people don't naturally understand that. So most people would kind of buck and say like, no, I'm great. I'm good. I'm going to hold steady.
Right.
Right. And so I think when it comes to the history of college athletics as you knew it is different.
Right.
It's going to be different. It's kind of, dude, television as you know
Uh-oh.
is different.
Uh-oh.
Think about it.
Uh-oh.
And back in the day, everybody had cable television and this and that. You look at the
Cable.
You look
I
at
remember it was just 13 stations, and then you
And
sang the
antenna.
national anthem. The national anthem came on at midnight. I mean, at 1 o'clock in the morning, TV went off.
That's it. That's it. It's so interesting, and it was kind of an aha moment for us. We have two kids. We have a 12 and a 10-year-old. My wife and I. And what's so interesting is I remember we had a babysitter, and this was kind of the aha moment for me. We had a babysitter about 7 or 8 years ago. And when the babysitter came there, we were like, okay, well, here's the remote if you want to watch TV. She was like, nah, we don't need that. What's your Wi-Fi code? I was just saying to myself, and and then the next babysitter we had did the same thing. And I'm just like, these young folks ain't watching TV. It was an aha moment for me, but it's a generational shift. And if you talk to most people under a certain age, they don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Literally. So I said all that to say the landscape of how we consume content has changed.
Yes.
Right? The landscape of college athletics has changed, and it's going to change even further. And we naturally resist change because we yearn for the good old days, how it used to be back in my day. And we'll probably talk about back in the day, the music from our eras and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
The soundtrack of our life. The thing is, we want things to be the same way, even like with hip hop. Folks are like, oh, this new age hip hop is whatever. But we're like, yo, somebody's liking it because this joker got 1 billion streams in a month.
And he rocking, he's selling out shows, and these cats now making more money than them in hip
Come
hop.
on.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. I said 1 billion streams.
Yeah.
It's different, not 1 billion CDs. See, different perspective.
Uh-oh.
Or 1 billion tapes. Or 1 billion 8-tracks. It's 1 billion streams, right? So I'm just saying, so we have to understand that we are reluctant to change naturally. So we have to do something inside of us to change how we look at opportunity, and not necessarily only change when something's broken, but start creating this opportunity to open up ourselves to change even when things aren't broken. So I think the notion of sports, people wanting it to be what it was, is that natural inclination. And if we don't get out of that, we're just going to be disappointed. But the reality is the ship has sailed and it's changing. So you better get on board or not.
Trains left the station,
It's
baby.
left the station.
Train done left the station. You better get on board, or you're gonna be short, or you're gonna be standing still.
Oh, you're sitting there mad. I ain't going to watch it. Yeah, right.
You gonna be,
Okay.
and to put it in a metaphorical phrase, you're gonna be sitting there with a beep, and we got smartphones.
Come on.
Stop
Come
playing.
on.
Stop playing. Let's talk about this music since we touched on it.
Okay.
Hip hop started out in the park. We used to do it out in the dark. You know what I'm saying? The music game, even R&B, not just hip hop, R&B, even rock and roll. What I like about music right now is that it's become universal. Okay. When I was growing up in my time, and I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember when music was I guess was just as I I'll just be candid about it, went according to race as it did for area where you lived.
Absolutely.
So, I remember coming up, don't listen to that because that's white music. Listen to that because that's Spanish music. Now you got everybody doing all music and actually being great at it. I'll buy Eminem CD in a minute. I'll buy a Post Malone CD in a minute. Then go back and pull out a Houdini joint. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk.
And what's happening now in this new age of music, we'll get into, genres, but everybody's enjoying everybody. And everybody's smiling. EDM music is rocking, The thing that makes me think about where do we go next is when I hear people say, well, this song is better than that song, and why people don't like that song versus this song. How is this song hotter than that song?
It's interesting. So it really comes down to how do you measure good, right?
Okay.
And a lot of that is personal preference. But then some people are looking specifically at metrics, like, okay, this is the dopest song because it got the most downloads or the most streams. Or
right.
This one is the best artist because it's the best selling artist. So that's why it's interesting. Sometimes when people will say, like, who's the best, you have to kind of quantify or kind of break it down. You mean like the best selling? You mean the most musically gifted? The one with the most range? Is this a 4-octave or 5-octave singer?
All of that.
Is this a person who can play 50 instruments? Like, what do you mean when you say best? Because like athletes, right? Some of the best athletes are probably the best athletes we've never seen. Because they didn't do all the other things to allow them to get on a major stage. It's probably some guy in a park in New York that will run circles around anybody in the NBA
I'm
now.
telling you right now, I know for a fact. I was around when each one teach one was the thing.
Okay.
In the Rucker Park. Baby.
Okay.
I was there.
Okay.
I've seen them actually as a team collectively be a team of NBA players collectively on the court. I mean, all-star NBA players. And there was one guy, one I can speak of that everyone should know, Sweet Pea. He got signed after one of those games by the Spurs.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Boom, boom. He played a couple years in the NBA, and this is back in the 80s.
Wow.
Had game. Had to get him out there. You got guys in football, who just don't have a grade.
That's right. But the thing is, though, it just going back to what we're talking about with music, it's the same thing, right? Just because a person is considered the best or not so good or whatever, it's like, how are you measuring that, right? And the vast majority of people aren't musicians.
Facts.
Right? So it's just like, if you're not a chef, and you go to a restaurant and some chef lays out this Wagyu beef, something, whatever, you might be ready to put some A1 sauce all over it, right? Because you can't delineate good from great. You just like, that's just a piece of steak to me. But that chef who's trained is like, no. You do not, don't mess this steak up by putting A1 sauce all over it, right? I mean, now if A1 is going to be a sponsor of this, you can put A1
Whole lot of A1 on that.
It works and put
I love
it.
Now, let's expand on that right there.
Okay.
That's interesting right there. So when you get to the music itself, and you're talking about having choices, what you think might be good and what you think might not be. I remember a time when all new music came out on Tuesdays. You might remember that. And you had maybe, let's say, 15 albums drop, maybe 25, 30 singles drop.
Okay.
Now, because everybody has a computer and doesn't have to spend 30 grand in a professional studio to make a song, and you get that daily.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, as a DJ, over 150 songs hit my inbox daily.
Wow.
Daily. Now, when I had to go to the record store and buy songs and figure what song to buy now that I could afford, and you had to spend $6, $7 for a single, and maybe $15, $20 for an album, and then buy two of them because you had two turntables, and now you can just download the file. So it makes it easier. So I think to myself, if I spend $5 a record, and 150 records coming to me per day, could I afford the DJ?
Ooh.
See, what's going on now,
That's interesting.
with all this music hitting us as people, whether it's downloads, emails, files, however we get them. In my opinion, it goes back to the administrator.
Okay. What you mean by that?
The DJ.
Okay.
Because it was a time when the DJ
The gateway.
broke the records.
That's right. The DJ is the gateway.
And every city has hundreds of DJs in them. So, in my opinion, when a DJ is able to deliver a song to a crowd of 5 or 5,000 or 500,000, however big the crowd is, and you time it right, that DJ could potentially make you a hit.
You said something there, man, and it's interesting to think about it because what you're talking about is the delivery.
The delivery, exactly.
Because it's no longer an issue with content.
No,
it's more content being created. I mean, it's you.
And more guys on the mic that are wordsmiths for
Oh, my
hip hop.
gosh.
More guys making instruments and sampling on the beat machines for all kinds of music, hip hop, EDM, R&B.
So so it's the delivery, but the biggest
Rock.
thing is the filter. So the DJ is that filter because, and this is the thing that's so interesting. One of the biggest challenges that most people face day in and day out is distraction.
Facts.
Right? It's distraction.
Facts.
Because there's so much, like anything that you can literally think of, you pretty much have access to now, right? So
Correct.
it used to be, it's like, okay, I can only see this. I got a TV guide for this, and I can only go here if I can get somebody to give me a ride over here. And now with your phone, you have access literally to anything that you can conceive. You have access to it.
And my phone makes me smart.
It makes us all
It
smarter,
makes me
right?
smart.
It's real. And so
Yes.
to that point, there's more and more need for filters in our lives. And what's even more challenging as you start going into AI and how all this stuff is rocking and rolling, and how brands are using these tools to find unique ways to get things in front of you. It used to be commercials, billboards, newspapers, magazines, word of mouth. That was it.
Right.
Now you got stuff being curated and delivered directly to you that you may or may not want, but it's being, and so you're getting bombarded with that. So it's now more and more a need for having filters across the board. And so when you mentioned a DJ being that deliverable, that DJ is also serving as that filter. And but I think this really goes to your trust level too. I gotta trust that DJ that he's gonna deliver some good stuff because
Absolutely.
he's filtering out thousands of songs to deliver me this one. So I gotta trust that DJ Sterl the Pearl is gonna come with it.
Hey, let me tell you now, I can tell you, Sterl the Pearl is always going to come with it.
Oh, we know that.
But
It's a layup.
I deal with the fact that everybody doesn't like DJ Sterl the Pearl.
Yeah, that's
So
real.
if you don't like me, I hope I leave there saying, I hope I make you leave a spot that I'm DJing saying that dude tried, though.
That's right.
He tried.
That's right.
You might not, I didn't like him, but he was out there trying. He was working. And that's where
That's interesting.
I want to get the coach Mike D on it right now.
Okay, what's up?
Because there's so much jealousy right now with artists. I mean, from every genre across the board.
Not just music, comedy.
Keep it going.
Everything.
Let's just compartmentalize it in
Yeah, music, got you.
entertainers.
Okay, 100%.
Entertainers.
There's jealousy.
Why be jealous?
There's a scarcity mindset, right? So a lot of people...
And that's where I wanted to go this whole time.
No, it's real because there's a scarcity mindset involved. Like a lot of people don't live life through the lens of abundance, realizing there are opportunities everywhere.
Right.
Like if you look and you think that if I don't take what this person has, then I'm not going to have an opportunity, then I have to make sure that I don't allow this person to elevate too high because then I can't get that opportunity. That's a scarcity mindset. But it goes back to like we were talking earlier about sports and how when you pan out and you realize that the United States only represents 5% of the world's population, when you pan out globally and you realize that you're one of roughly 8 billion people in the world. 8 billion. People don't understand how big a billion is.
Woo.
A billion is
1,000 million.
1,000 million. 10, 100 millions.
Woo.
Right? If you realize that there are 8 billion people in the world, you have an audience somewhere.
Yes.
Right? There's opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
There's money flowing somewhere, but you might have to get out of your neighborhood. You might not be able to navigate in this same bucket with other people. You might have to get into another bucket. But the reality is people have a scarcity mindset. So therefore, this natural tendency of I got to push you down to build myself up so that I can elevate and I can be the one. To me, that's a disease that plagues a lot of us. But the moment that you start connecting with folks who think abundantly and start to realize that, yo, hold up, I ain't got to knock you down, fam. Because there's so much.
And that's where I'm at with it, man. I mean, because teamwork make the dream work.
Teamwork makes. Oh, what? It's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Absolutely.
So if we start understanding that and thinking about it through that particular lens.
Pause. Say that again.
It's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
My man.
Like, if we need to sit in that for a while, right? But most people don't think that way because you're scared. And I don't fault. This is the empathy part that's coming back into place as well. You don't understand everybody's story. Some people had to scratch and claw or feel like they had to scratch and claw to get where they are, right? So therefore, when they get something, they want to hold on because they're scared of losing it. Because in the back of their mind, they're like, I know where I came from and I can't go back there, right? So if that means I got to knock this joker off and knock this one off to get there or to keep myself where I am, I'm willing to do that. Now, that's something they have to work on. Because a lot of times they're good and they actually might get even better if they can help this person instead of trying to knock them off, right? But it's a scarcity mindset that we have to all get beyond, right? But it's a challenge. But again, but once you understand people's story, it starts to make sense. You're like, I see why you're angry. You know what? Oh, I see why you're trying to knock everybody down. I don't agree with it and I'm not going to stand here for it, but I see why. I can understand you. Now we can get to the real thing. We can get to that real issue. We can get down to that real challenge that's really plaguing you. Because a lot of times what people say, that's not the real deal. You got to get with them a little bit longer and you're like, oh, you keep saying this is a facade. But once we talk a little bit more, we spend some more time together.
Then it gets real.
It's like, oh, that thing that you're saying, it ain't that. It's what's around over here. That's what's really bothering you. And if you fix that, all this other stuff that you're angry about, it falls away.
See, and it always concerns me here in recent history. Mm-hmm. You know, you got these entertainers and people that have the platform of impacting many.
Yes.
What are you upset about? Mm-hmm. I don't get it. You're doing what you love to do. Mm-hmm. You made the choice to do it. Mm-hmm. If you came together on a united front, can you imagine the impact you can have? And that's where I'm at with it.
I guess again, we don't always know everything. Interesting, and this is why with entertainment, with people who do all these reveals, and share this and share that, I take a lot of it with a grain of salt because I also realize that every slice of bread has two sides, right? There are facts which are definitive. This happened. But then there's perspective. Facts literally don't have a long in the media cycle. Perspectives can get to running. Because, oh, he said this, she said this. Well, this is what, and it's all this he said, she said. That gives the opportunity for something to have a long tail and run, and we keep the attention there. Whereas if we just lay out a fact, it's like, all right, we can't dispute it because we got proof. This is what it is. And then it's over though. It's real though.
Yeah, I mean, he said facts are facts.
Facts are facts. If it is what it is, we can't. There's nothing to really talk about.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it's 40 degrees outside. Okay, that's a fact. But man, it's cold outside. Man, no, it ain't. Where you from, man? I'm from Jersey. Well, I'm from Augusta, Georgia. And now we can have a 30-minute conversation on why it's cold or why it's not cold.
Why it's not cold, exactly.
But the fact is, it's 40 degrees outside.
Boom.
You see what I'm saying?
My man. Wow.
It's real.
Because you're right now. I've had conversations with people that, it's snowing outside. Yeah, it's snowing outside. Yeah, but that ain't no snow. I never seen snow. It's only 3 inches.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the whole notion. The perspective. And that gives this back and forth. This is what gives people the opinion to jump in and add their 2 cents. And no, it isn't. Yeah, it is. And we want to debate. We naturally want to have some conflict. And we also know that's what sells.
And people like to think they right about everything.
Oh, my
goodness.
Most people would rather win the argument than actually be right. They could care less whether they're factual. They just want to win the argument. I want to be the one that's on top. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. There's a lot of people.
I like solutions. I mean, if I lose, I lose. Like I said, never been a rumor about me being perfect. Hey, I just want a solution,
Let's
baby.
get to it.
Let's win.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, my man, Coach Mike D.
Yes, sir.
Tell us where we can find you, brother.
Man, you can follow Coach Mike D anywhere on social media: Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the Coach Mike D on TikTok. Visit CoachMikeD.com. Grab a copy of my latest book, The 33 Laws of Impact and Fulfillment, available on Audible and Amazon. So y'all grab a copy and check me out.
Mike D.
Man, I appreciate you, dog.
Guest number 1.
Yes, sir.
On the go in, baby.
Bro.
Appreciate
yes,
you, brother.
Appreciate you, my guy.
We'll be back. See you soon.